Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I'm Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me once again. Well, he done did it just like I said he would. Governor Gavin Newsom threw his hands up and said, no, 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 no. I'm not giving you guys $1.2 million in reparations. It ain't happening. I'm going to brag and say, I told you so. Let's get right into this article. uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, see, they playing you like they always do, like the Democrats always do. California Governor Gavin Newsom backed away Tuesday from the idea of paying reparations to descendants of slaves after a state panel he signed into law calculated the state was liable for hundreds of billions of dollars. Didn't you think about that before you even bothered to sign this into law? Just another tactic to keep black people on your plantation. But let's go on. Newsom signed a law in 2020 at the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, establishing a reparations task force to examine whether California, a free state since its inception in 1850, owed money for slavery. Makes no sense. It's a free state since 1850, but yet you want to have this task force. The committee, composed of predominantly of black members, held hearings throughout the state and concluded that California owed black residents $1.2 million each, though it limited eligibility to descendants of slaves. Which, who's going to take up the time to find out whether or not their descendants were slaves? Who's going to do that? Who in this panel, this task force, is going to actually do that? The committee's recommendations, approved by a vote last weekend, will now go to the state legislature for consideration. But Newsom, perhaps with an eye to future presidential ambitions, is suddenly skeptical. Watch this. Listen to this. Fox News Digital reported California Governor Gavin Newsom declined to endorse the cash payments, which could reach as high as $1.2 million for a single recipient. Recommended by his reparations task force, telling Fox News Digital that dealing with the legacy of slavery, quote, is about much more than cash payments. Tell that to the task force that you appointed. While the Democratic governor applauded the task force work, he declined to endorse any specific recommendations, though he pledged to continue to, quote, advance systemic changes that ensure an inclusive and equitable future for all Californians. That's all you need to say to black folks in California, period, anyway. That's all Democrats need to say. We just want to advance systemic changes that ensure an inclusive and equitable future for all Californians. And y'all vote for them. You voted for them. You get what you vote for. This goes and said, dealing with that legacy is about much more than cash payments. This is his words. Many of the recommendations put forward by the task force are critical action items we've already been hard at work addressing, breaking down barriers to vote. I guarantee you black Californians are not having barriers to vote. And if they do, it's because they don't have a freaking ID. They're supposed to have an ID. They don't have it. That's probably why you can't vote. But I don't know. I mean, it's Californians. I don't know how loosey-goosey they are there. No offense to people who's from California, but you know the changes that are taking place there that are not so good. He says, bolstering resources to address hate, there we go, enacting sweeping law enforcement and justice reforms to build trust and safety, strengthening economic mobility. Oh, they're good at using these words, aren't they? All while investing billions to root out disparities and improve equity in housing, education, healthcare, and well beyond. This work must continue, he said. In other words, that's his way of saying, black people, I'm not going to give you $1.2 million, but I want you to keep voting for us. So we're going to keep fighting for equity and housing and education and health care. Newsom was referring to the committee's policy recommendations, which included overturning Proposition 209, a law banning the use of race in state hiring and contracts. Forget about all that. That's a bunch of nonsense. But here's something. Critics of the reparations task force have suggested that Newsom and the Democrats planned all along to ignore some of the committee's proposals, then to blame Republicans for being the obstacle to implementing them. Yeah, they would say something like that, wouldn't they? They would say something like that. But I told you, I said this up front, that this is what they were going to do. This is what the Democrats were going to do in California, and they do it all the time. Election time we're in that election year. We're in that election year. Have anyone paid attention to all of the type of narratives that are being spun in the mainstream liberal media, what they call the legacy media? Have anyone noticed the narrative that's constantly being spun? It's almost, whether it's on TV or whether it's news sites on online, is always race related, and conservative sites are always trying to defend themselves against these knuckleheads who constantly spin the race rhetoric. Have you noticed that? This happens all the time. Now, once the election time comes in 2024, once that gets here, then it's going to calm down. Whoever gets in office, if it's a Democrat, God forbid, if a Democrat, we don't need another one of them. We don't need them. But if it's a Democrat, everything going to calm down. If it's a Republican, it ain't going to calm down. They're going to really play that race up. Whether it's Trump that gets in office or DeSantis, they're going to play it up. But it's going to be the same rhetoric all the time. And this is what they've been pushing. It's all about race. Why? Because they know that over 90% of blacks, and I'm going to keep hitting this, I'm going to keep picking on it because it's true. Statistically, over 90% of blacks vote Democrat. In order to keep them voting, they got to keep throwing these promises at them. They got to keep throwing this stuff at them. And reparations is one of them. But I said before, and a lot of other YouTubers have said before too, you ain't going to get no money. Newsom just it's a picture of him doing like this. Because he's like, I'm not giving you, I bet you say, I'm not giving you nothing. That's really what he wanted to say. I ain't giving you nothing. You black folks gonna vote for me anyway, so why would I give you $1.2 million out of a budget that we don't even have? You know that would hurt California? I'm not gonna do that. But we will bring equity and housing, the same rhetoric that Democrats always spit at black people. The same rhetoric. And my question is, when are blacks going to collectively wake up? You may not vote Republican, okay? That ain't what the deal is. But you sure need to stop voting for these Democrats. I'm just going to be real with you. I'm hitting hard on this. You sure need to stop voting for them because they make them same promises all the time. On my job at downtown Cleveland, police officers come to me. Let me tell you, these Democrat politicians do not care. Police officers come to me all the time complaining about the high crime, complaining about they can't do anything about it. Pedestrians come to me while I'm posted in front of Tower City on my bike, observing these nutbags out here, people who want to cause trouble, coming to me and complaining about all the craziness that's going on in the city of Cleveland. And then sometimes getting mad at me because I'm at Tower City. In my jurisdiction, something's happening across the street and somewhere else on my jurisdiction. They come to me, get mad at me because I'm not over there and cuss me out. I'm not making this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. And really what I want to say is, you voted for a progressive, because we have a progressive Democrat as the mayor. You voted for him. You wanted a young black progressive in the office of mayor. And what has he done for the city of Cleveland? Crime is going up. You know it and I know it. What has he done? They never do anything. You want to know why they never do anything? It's because I personally believe, based on my studies and readings, that these so-called progressives are nothing more than hidden communists who are purposely trying to destroy the cities, the states, and the country in order to bring about their rotten communist government. That's what they want. They want total, absolute control. Because only someone with common sense can be able to see, because you got to think about it. You see that your policies are not working, and yet you continuously push those kind of policies. Clearly, you up to something else. Clearly. No one can be that dumb. No one can be that dumb. Either you are that dumb or you got a nefarious plan. And I believe it's the latter. These progressive Democrats have a nefarious plan. They're undercover communists. And they have a plan. They have a goal. They'll sit up here and they'll tell you and I Oh, everything's good, but you on the ground level dealing with high crime, poverty, violence, lawlessness, inflation, all the negative things you on ground level dealing with, and they sit up in the office, calm, cool, and collective, and telling you, like Laura Lightfoot was when she was being interviewed and walked off the stage because the man that was interviewing was asking her real questions. Calm, cool, and collected. Sir, you just don't know what you're talking about. You just don't want to listen. You just don't want to listen. Deflection, like they always do. Deflect the attention to somebody else when they ask you a simple question of why there's so much crime in the city, why there's so much death and destruction. Well, the statistics say this, that, and the other. Negro, if you don't get out of my face. Statistics mean nothing if what you're seeing on ground level is telling you something completely opposite of that. See, this is what these progressive Democrats do. They play on they're playing on this idea that people in this country, and blacks in particular, are so dumbed down that they're going to say, you know what? Yeah, I know I had a gun pointed at me. Yeah, I know that crime is high. And even though these criminals raping people and stealing, breaking in stores and stealing and going to jail and getting right out, even though I see that happening, I believe what the progressive Democrats are saying. You know, everything's cool. So I'm going to vote for you in 2024. They're counting on people being stupid. They're counting on people being dumb. And the way I look at it, there seems to be some sense to that, because clearly it must be working, because they wouldn't keep pushing the same rhetoric. They would change their tactics if it wasn't working, but they're not changing their tactics because they know it works, especially with black people. Yes, I'm picking with black people because we're the ones vote for these fools. We're the ones vote for these clowns. And then want to complain all day. I'm on ground level listening to this stuff all the time. I know what I'm talking about. It ain't just something I read. It's something I experience on a day-to-day basis when I go to work. Sometimes I hate going to work because I gotta hear these people complaining. I gotta see this madness around me. We're at the point right now where my boss is asking the higher uppers that security officers at Tower City should be armed now. Because one of my supervisors had a gun pulled on him. And guess what? The guy's walking around like it ain't nothing. Had a gun pulled. Man had a gun pulled on him. And the guy that pulled the gun, walking around like it is nothing. Policies. It's policies that matter, man. It's policies. Policies. Forget about, they're professional. They're professional politicians. They're so polished and well dressed, and they look good. And when the Antichrist comes, he's going to be polished and well dressed and look good and highly motivational. He's going to be all those things. But that's not what leads the country. It's not how polished they are. It's not how well they push things. It's not how well they speak. It's none of that. It's the policies and worldview that they're pushing that's going to govern the country, that's going to govern the city, that's going to govern the state. That's what matters. That's what matters. But unfortunately, they keep pushing the same thing because people, for whatever reason, it's working. People fall into the pit of mind control with it. Well, okay, I'm going to vote for him anyway. And Gavin Newsom, like I said, did exactly what I predicted he would do. And did exactly what just about every Democrat that promises reparations to black people is going to do. They're going to say this type of stuff until voting time comes. And then when they get in office, if so they get in office, hopefully they don't. They're going to say, thank you, got you. We got you again. They're going to be laughing. I imagine they're laughing. Why change your tactics when that tactic works? Why? Why change it? When are black folks going to wake up and stop voting for these clowns? I'm just real with you. Man. I'm just hitting it right where it hurts the most. I don't want to hear nothing from anybody about high crime and this, that, and the other. And it's high crime and I'm tired of being scared. And you keep voting for the same politicians that go soft on crime. You the one putting them in there. You did it. You did it. I'm not talking about anybody watching this video. But if you watching this video and you voted Democrat and you got high crime in your city, I'm going to stick it to you. You did it. You part of the blame because you voted these people in office. In America, We have the option of voting people in office and voting them out of office. We still at that point right now. We still at that point. We haven't become a complete kangaroo court, whatever they want to call it now. We haven't completely got to that point yet. We still have some freedoms in terms of our voting. The power is left up to you. The power is left up to me. What are we going to do about it? It's up to us. Stop listening to just the mainstream media. It's poison. They omit this. Not always what they say, is what they don't tell you. It's what they leave out. They've been doing this stuff for decades. It's time for people to come out. That's why Tucker Carlson up out of there. Because he's sick of the lies. He's sick of the lies. It's a matrix. That's all it is. It is what it is, man. But we need to, people they have to start waking up. It is what it is. And I know I'm going off at this point, but it's about time to wake up, because Gavin Newsom and what he just said about this reparations situation, I ain't giving you nothing. That's going to reverberate throughout all the states and cities that are run by Democrats, progressive Democrats. Okay. What are we progressing to, by the way, in the ending of this video? What do we actually progress? They like to call themselves progressives because it's real soft and nice and kind. But what are we really progressing to? Progressing to transgender men who are biological male but want to be females, competing in women's sports and beating them out. That's progress. Progress to pushing sexually provocative material to our children in our schools. That's progress. Pushing critical race theory by telling it to our children in school, by telling them that white people are inherently racist and blacks are inherently oppressed and only the government can help them. That's progress. Saying that criminals are not really criminals, they're crime. When they commit these crimes, they're really crying out from an oppressed society and they're in poverty and they shouldn't be responsible for the things that they do because they've been positioned in their position, that particular position, and they're not responsible for what they do. So we're going to go soft on them. We're not going to really penalize them that much. That's progress. I would say that's regression. But we put them in office. You get what you vote for. That's all I'm saying. So that's my view on it. What do you guys feel? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all, and see you again.